everyone, welcome to another Music Talk Tuesday. And today I thought it would be interesting to briefly address uh, dancing and how it has I think, significantly impacted the way we see music and its influence on music over the years. And dancing has been around for actually quite a significant amount of time. Earliest, I think, record we have is probably around 9,000 years ago. So it has been around for a while and has drawn a significant influence on a variety of cultures around the world. And it has been somewhat of a universal concept. And at the same time, it takes, again, many shapes and forms. Um, and a lot of it is influenced by the music that is uh, a part of the dance. For example, ballet, you primarily hear classical music when you see a ballet performance. You don't see hip hop or something like that. And again, perfect example, you don't hear classical music when there's really a hip hop performance going on. So these sort of cultural influences like European culture and an American culture, I think, have significantly influenced the way music is showcased within dance. And the interesting thing that I find about these two things and how they sort of seem to go together really well is the fact that dance, like music, is largely emotion based. It's a way of self-expression. It's a way of addressing your thoughts and ideas. Um, and also there's a certain amount of sort of rhythm to dance. If you watch a performance without music, it's a totally different experience than watching dance with some kind of music attached to it. And it's almost like they kind of go together in a way. Even though, you still can perform without music, it's just usually, especially people nowadays, prefer to, I think, have some kind of music as part of the dance. But the reason why rhythm plays a role is it kind of showcases the flow of the dance. Is the flow designed to be fast-paced, or is it primarily to be graceful um, uh, and showcase some um, kind of a kind of beauty that's more hinged on maybe some form of sort of innocence, or is it kind of or does it have an edge to it? For example, tap dance is really based within rhythm. Like, you cannot do a classical piece with tap dance. That would just totally wouldn't work at all. Because it needs to go with the rhythm. Unless you have a very fast-paced classical piece, which I'm sure you could find some. But primarily, in the grander scheme of things, usually classical is rather slow and goes more well with ballet or maybe even modern to a certain extent. But again, a lot of the dancing is influenced by the music's genre and how fast the music's going, what kind of beats it's trying to emphasize, what points do you experience maybe a key change, all of those things really influence how a dance is choreographed, and you can clearly see this if you ever see a dancing performance. The music really does influence the way in which you create a dance because it's sort of guiding you. It's giving you a means to express something. And that's why I think dancing largely in part ties a lot in with music is because it helps the sort of artist, like a like paint helps a painter. You know, you're using the music as a means to create your art. And so I think that's what the primary reason as to why music is so influential to dancing. Um, and it's interesting to see how dancing has been put within film, and again, how that has sort of impacted the music. For example, um, you know, Risky Business probably had a huge influence on the song that it was trying to um, create a sort of a goofy dance to. Um, Footloose, perfect example. Dirty Dancing, the list goes on. So there have been certain moments within other forms of art where dancing has been showcased, and in doing so, the music is also presented at the forefront as well. And it's usually how people sort of maybe even remember the song. They'll remember that scene in Risky Business. Uh, they'll remember the Dirty Dancing, or something like Footloose, or the Blues Brothers. A lot of that is largely generated through the music and the combination of inserting dance as part of the overall presentation uh, of a scene within a film. So I think definitely we've seen dancing sort of evolve over the years. Obviously, the way we dance now is clearly not the same in the way that people dance within the 50s. But you see this within films like Grease, and then you look at our modern day dance clubs, and you can totally see the difference. There might be some similarities, but there's a lot of different elements to it. I think our dancing now is probably a little bit more, I'd say, generic. There's not like a whole lot of different movements going on. But at the same time, it's interesting to see how music has sort of shaped the way into which we dance and sort of how we dance. Um, in the past, dancing was very kind of more graceful. I think it was a lot more. Um, Again, it was designed to be, I think, more based within pairs, like people, like for example, swing is a dance between primarily the gender, but now dancing is kind of like more of a group thing, and it's a little bit more. It has a little bit more edge to it. There's a lot more of a grit and a grind and a twerking to it. And again, I think there's people who have various different opinions on it. I personally prefer the older style because I think there's just a lot more different. I just think there's more movements going on, and it feels like it's an actual dance, whereas today's dancing is just kind of random. But at the same time, there's certain parts of various dances today that are kind of interesting. For example, some hip hop dancing can actually be really, really cool and very creative. But at the same time, regardless of the sort of shift in which we took dancing and the shift in sort of music that went along with that, it's something that's probably going to be here for a long time. I think probably throughout human existence, we will probably have dancing. Um, and dancing doesn't have to be the good thing about dancing, and I think sort of music too tied in with it, is is that you don't need to be a rock star to dance. You know, you don't need to be the artist, you know, in order to dance, but um, you can just dance to it and have fun. And I think that's what brings the joy of music out of people, is the fact that they're able to dance to it, that they're able to kind of have fun with it and sort of let themselves go, um, as opposed to you know, just maybe seeing a concert with somebody else singing. Because again, I think a lot of people too are a little bit uncomfortable singing, maybe in the same way that some people are uncomfortable with dancing. But I think dancing, you know, there's no kind of right or wrong, I think, answer. I mean, yeah, of course, there's something that is called, you know, very skilled and professional dancing, but at the same time, there's not really a limit to it, as to what you can classify as dancing. You know, just moving around is really dancing. Um, Even if you're just bobbing your head, you know, like a Night at the Roxbury, you know? I mean, it doesn't really matter. And again, that's why dancing is so influential to music. It creates maybe even some comedic effect out of it. It generates a means of expression that maybe can't be fully expressed in words, and maybe can't even be fully expressed within just the music itself. Um, and dancing just, I think, adds that extra element with music, and I think it'll continue to be a very pivotal role to what music ultimately ends up offering in the future. But it's just one of those evolving things that has pretty much existed throughout human civilization and still will exist. As far as people's interest in dancing, I think, you know, it is still stemmed throughout the years. I mean, you see people taking ballet, taking um, modern, taking jazz, and whatever they are interested in taking. And, you know, I mean, it'll be a part of the culture, I think, um, of sort of human, sort of, I guess, human civilization, because dance is pretty much universal throughout the world. And there's not a whole lot of things that are like that. Usually we don't see things in this amount of capacity. I mean, yeah, we see music, you know, music is universal. Um, but I think it's sort of universal in a similar way that dance is a universal concept. A lot of different cultures have used it over the years. Um, a lot of involvement has occurred from it, and it has even become its sort of its own profession in a way. At least some forms of dancing have. So it's interesting to see, and I hope that it continues to inspire people. And I think a lot of the times people like to sort of express themselves in 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 a dance, and in doing so, they kind of bring out what the music is sort of giving them. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this topic. I just find it very fascinating, and something that I think I would really consider people, you know, checking out to see a performance maybe of some kind, because they can be a lot of fun. Sometimes they do drag. Sometimes dancing performances just don't know how many performances they should have in them, because they keep going on and on and on and on. But there's probably ones that are a little shorter than others, and I think um, they're definitely worth checking out. Even if you're not a dancer yourself, I mean, they're still fun to watch in a way, and it's nice to see what people kind of put together sometimes. Um, and yeah, I think that's really all I can say, but thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care.